always just act when defending.
I think it's like
people deluded. I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on.
People deluded, I'm back again. Appreciative to everybody tuned in as usual. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course in some cases good night. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you and your loved ones are in good health. Long may that continue, and I hope you're having a great 2023 so far, people. Appreciative of you lot tuned in for this video. Appreciate you lot that watch my playlist, follow me on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, and all those things. On that, please make sure you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're turning on your notifications and all of that good stuff. Now, as we know, people, it's a great time to be an Arsenal fan. With it being the halfway period in the season, hopefully that continues. We brought 3 players in. Balogun is doing the bits and pieces on loan, as is young Charlie Patino. Obviously, you know, we sit where we sit in the league table. I don't check the league table, but I heard that it's the same place that we start the league campaign in. So hopefully Mikel and the boys can keep that up. With that being said, you know, we've been linked with Hudson-Odoi. There's a couple of other talking points, so let's get straight into it. I must admit, I know the Wolves are out for me because I always banter Hudson-Odoi. As I've always said, I think he's a decent player, but he's an easy target to hit, definitely when he's them guys over there. So I'm not too sure how I feel about if we did want Hudson-Odoi. It makes sense as to why we'd be looking at him. He fits the age profile. His contract is running down. We're in a project. He's a project player, which I also feel is a double-edged sword because I do think he is a good player and there's potential with that. But I think we've got a lot of those players, and I'm sure Hudson-Odoi has all the potential in the world, but I just think we should put resources towards our other development prospects. He's on decent wages at Chelsea. Obviously, with the years he's got in front of him, a bit like Eddie Nketiah for 100 grand, you know, that could save your club, and it kind of makes sense. But I think we should stay clear. It looks like he needs an arm around his shoulder, and I do think players will always need that. I think Arteta provides that. But at the same time, I do like this season how players are standing up to be counted for themselves, and we haven't really got time for any of that, really and truly. And we've got a couple of those players already, so I'm not really on it. But you know, let me know you lot's opinions. Let's get straight into this, people. Let me share my screen with you lot. Appreciative of you lot tuned in. Arsenal considering raiding Chelsea again in the summer with mass exodus expected. Bargain basement settings again, people. As we know, Chelsea are expected to offload a whole host of players. I mean, they need to, ain't they? Brought in 6 players also and spent like 600 million, including the summer and now. As you know, we've signed Jorginho, and relationships at Arsenal and Chelsea in relation to selling players is better. I'm sure Chelsea fans would probably be happier. You know, they've got better Arsenal players than we've got Chelsea players. But anyways, people, according to The Guardian, Chelsea intend to be ruthless in trimming their squad and offloading players in the summer, and Arsenal are one of several teams ready to try and nab a bargain. Table-topping Gunners have their eye on Hudson-Odoi, who is unlikely to remain at Stamford Bridge when he returns from his loan at Bayern Leverkusen at the end of the season. In terms of goals and assists, not really doing much, really and truly there. As we know, he is homegrown, people. He is a highly rated young player, or was, people. So you don't become a good or bad player overnight. As I said, I can understand. A loan move to the Bundesliga has failed to reignite his form so far, with the 22-year-old, almost 23 now, where Arsene Wenger, former Arsenal man, said you need to kind of be the finished article. With the 22-year-old registering just 1 assist and no goals in 11 league outings, though he did get on the score sheet in the Champions League. Arsenal are tracking Hudson-Odoi's performances for Leverkusen ahead of a potential move, while other clubs are also keeping tabs on his possible availability. If Arteta wants it, I'm all for it. But with him being a wide man, wide man being an area we're looking for, naturally he's going to fall on a list of targets. That doesn't mean we're going to move for him necessarily. You're going to have him, Diaby, Rafinha, looking at that situation. Obviously, you had Mudryk and you had a couple of others, really and truly. You know, Chelsea fans will count in pre-assists and that, really and truly, for this guy. Obviously, Chelsea are going to offload a whole host of players, people. Allegedly, Ziyech, who PSG move collapsed. Aubameyang, Koulibaly could keep it moving. You know, Ben Chilwell, Conor Gallagher, Lukaku, if he gets there. There's even rumours of Sterling, Aubameyang. It could be long. Pulisic as well. I can't lie, man. As you can see there, apparently they're willing to offload Kovacic as well, people. That's what I'm on, you know. I know Chelsea fans aren't exactly necessarily happy with Kovacic all the time, but I think he's 28, he's press resistant, you know, he would suit us in midfield so much. I mean, I've loved him since I've seen him at Inter Milan and Real Madrid and these things. No clue why he's not at either club. You know, I know he's not necessarily going to get you goals and assists, but I think Kovacic would be a lit signing at 28 years of age. No clue on the wages, the fee that Chelsea would want. No clue if he would actually want to stay in the Premier League or in London or join Arsenal. But if we was going to get someone from Chelsea, for me, it should be Mateo Kovacic, because I think he's got that experience, he's got that technical ability, he's got a level of consistency. And I think there's a gap in the midfield for us, because again, in an ideal world, we bring a midfielder or two in, Lokonga transforms at Crystal Palace and he becomes a competent 8 or a 6 or one of the two and gives Arteta another dimension in his team. But on the face of it, we're good in midfield. You know, we've got, if everybody's fit, which they're not necessarily, Xhaka and Partey are doing well and they don't need to go anywhere anytime soon. I think Jorginho is going to be a good signing in his own little way for us. You have got El Nene. But if you look at it in terms of age and longevity, the players I said don't really provide that. Obviously, El Nene, we've taken out a 1-year extension because of his rehab. No clue how he's going to react to that. Maybe we could make some money getting rid of man. And if we add that in towards Lokonga at this moment in time's inconsistency, on the face of it, we're good in midfield. But by the same edge of that sword, there's a lot of question marks to be had in midfield and decisions to make for all the Caicedo links and all the Declan Rice and Zubamendi and this guy and that guy and the third people. So it is what it is in that regards. I'd rather Kovacic, if I'm completely honest with you. As you can see here, I skipped past this. You know, he is, however, well, sorry, let's scroll up to the top, people. You know, again, Arsenal have emerged as a shock target. I mean, Hudson-Odoi has emerged as a shock target for Arsenal. He's played 11 games, created 12 chances, played 196 passes, has no goals, has 1 assist, has made 5 tackles in 2000. He struggled to make an impact. You know, and I'm not one to get onto stats and that, but he's got a 0.1 expected goals and 0.8 expected assists. It's hardly the form that's going to make Chelsea or Chelsea fans or the management at Chelsea think, whoa, you need to play. I do think if he goes away from Chelsea and gets away from Hudson-Odoi, Golden Boy, Chelsea stuff, and sets roots at another club and kind of divorces from that, I think the 22-year-old has a lot to offer. Pardon me, within the game, people, really and truly. But allegedly, we're tracking him. Wingers are a position of strength for Arsenal at the moment, but they could happily add a new addition to their squad for next summer. We've obviously brought in Trossard. If he was to sign tomorrow, is he going to play ahead of a fit Saka? Probably not. Trossard? Probably not. Fabio Vieira out wide at this moment in time? Probably not. Martinelli's obviously there. You know, you have Jesus and actually Eddie, who you could flirt with in wide areas according to form and things, and such is Arsenal's development. I'm probably missing out and name even Reece Nelson, really. I'd rather keep Nelson, really and truly. At least he showed he could do 1-2 bits and pieces in the Prem. So we'd have to see, people, really, if that's the case. And shout out Balogun for scoring his first career hat-trick. I've done a video on that. Make sure you're checking out my other videos, people. So yeah, it is what it is. Once again, Hudson-Odoi is unlikely to stay at Chelsea once he returns from his loan at Leverkusen. It's understood that Arsenal are tracking Hudson-Odoi, while City have been linked with Ben Chilwell. Conor Gallagher could be forced to consider his options after the arrival of Fernandes. Raheem Sterling, who joined from Man City last summer, remains committed to Chelsea. Fair enough, whatever that means. So yeah, don't really give a monkeys about Chelsea in that regards. But yeah, if Kovacic is contracted until 2024, so there could be a deal to be had there as well, people. I rate him a lot, really and truly. Obviously, I'm not watching Chelsea week in, week out, so it all depends where you look at that. Completely off topic, but Caicedo has returned to Brighton training after failing to force through the Arsenal move, as we know. And you can see Brighton, you know, playing games on social media. Just thought I'd include that for you. One player that is at the club after 8 weeks, Gabriel Jesus, apparently has provided an update on his injury record. I do think Arteta tries to temper expectations, both of Gabriel Jesus and Arsenal fans, because Gabriel Jesus, his biggest gift is his biggest curse in relation to injuries. You know, he wants to help, he wants to be part of it, but you know, and sometimes players in a nice way, they might not necessarily be honest. They might know in the back of my mind, my knee isn't quite as fit as I want, but I can soldier through the pain, as Gabriel Jesus does. He goes to war for every team he's ever played for, and we'd love him back. But let's get you back when you're ready, really and truly, because, you know, I do think we've improved a lot with keeping Partey fit, not rushing certain players back through fitness. Tomiyasu as well. We've taken our time with that throughout the season, and now he's fit. Obviously, Tierney's been able to stay fit. Smith Rowe has been a slow burner in that regard. But Gabriel Jesus has given a knee injury update with the forward back working on the grass, people. He last played last November against Wolves. Yeah, we did have the World Cup break, but my word, he ain't been around for a while, isn't it, really and truly? It's unfortunate that he got injured at the World Cup. Big up Eddie and Nketiah in a nice way. He's taking advantage of your absence to the point where if you're fit, you could argue you could walk back into the same team, but you could argue that you shouldn't because Eddie's good. In the same way, Smith Rowe has struggled with fitness for the last 6 months. Martinelli has taken that left wing spot and ran with it. Now you've got Trossard coming to complicate things, people. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. Jesus said after 8 weeks, again, he was set to originally miss out on 12 weeks of action. But again, Arteta will not rush him back because it's not that we can't afford to, but collectively we're all pulling in the same direction as a football club. And there's no point coming back ahead of schedule if you're now going to be out for longer. Come back when you're ready, people. The Spaniard said, hopefully we'll have him back for the final few months of the season. Now, that could be subjective. We're in February, just touched February, mind you. Does that mean March, April, May, or does that mean February, March, April, May? You know, it is expected that he'll return late February, early March, but you never know what's reported and what's actually the case. And if there's any setbacks or if he's ahead of schedule is another thing, people. But it's nice to see that he's back because it's been a testing time for him. Obviously, he is a father. I'm sure with the knee injury, he probably can't play with his kids as much as he wants. Not to get into someone's personal life, but, you know, he's split with his girlfriend, and sometimes, you know, football can provide a refuge for yourself. He's a strong man mentally, but when you're not playing and you're seeing your team do well, it can become a dark hole. The physical wounds can heal. The mental wounds are another thing. And someone as experienced as Jesus, I think he has no issues in that, but it is something to worry about, people. Obviously, it was a serious injury, a bit longer than we expected it. He's going to try to do everything he can to make it shorter, but we're going to miss him for a while. So we hope not only just Gabriel Jesus, but Reece Nelson, Mohamed El Nene, and anyone else suffering with injuries, you know, obviously Conte as well. Again, and you know, life is more important than football. I think Conte's had an operation or something like that. So I hope Antonio Conte or Spurs is doing all right as well. Health is wealth and those things. So yeah, big up Jesus. Romano clarifies Arsenal were considering La Liga star before opting for Jorginho move instead. I mean, we knew this with Zubamendi, but for what it's worth, Zubamendi is one of the players Arsenal also considered for their midfield. But Jorginho was a good option and they decided to proceed for him because Mikel Arteta is a big fan and wanted Jorginho when the Moses Caicedo deal collapsed. I'm aware Edson Fernandez has also been linked with Arsenal and other clubs, but at the moment it's completely quiet, people. So yeah, we'll have to see what's going on in that regards, people. With that, away from that, I think the agent of Jacob Kirio has been speaking. He said, in Italy, all the important clubs except Inter have advanced their interest: Napoli, Milan, and Juventus. Due to the current situation, however, Napoli didn't need to change the team in January. They wanted to bring the matter to the summer. Juventus know what happened, and Milan waited. Then you know what happens when Premier League teams arrives. We thought the boy deserved an important team. With all due respect to Bologna, the boys couldn't go to a team like Bologna. When Arsenal arrives, it becomes difficult for a 22-year-old boy to say no. If it had been Juventus or another team, it might have been the same. But Arsenal is a team that has gone further in discussions. He didn't think it would be so fast. I'm honest, we didn't think he would leave in January. We're thinking from a summer perspective, thinking of staying in La Spezia until June. But then Arsenal arrived. The boy didn't put pressure. He said if it could have been done well, otherwise he would have waited. So yeah, shout out to him and welcome to the football club. Sylvester, is former Arsenal and United man, Sylvester's been speaking on Jorginho, and I browsed it and I thought there might be some interesting comments here. On Jorginho, he said, I think Jorginho is a top player, but in comparison to the other teams fighting for the Champions League, he's not as dynamic. As you know, we live in a day and age of heavy turnover system center mids and dynamism and athletes, more than technical level to a degree. He's more of a ball player and his positioning is excellent. Quality, yes, but he'll need legs around him to cover ground like Kante. I mean, Arteta knows this. You know, look how he's reworked Xhaka, so I think he'll have that. He's not Caicedo, but I think given the ambition of Arsenal to win the title and maintain their position on the top or maintain momentum, like Edu said, I think it's a good move. He's bringing a lot of experience. He's won the Champions League. I think it's an excellent backup plan if he's playing with dynamic central midfielders. On Trossard, he said Trossard was clearly not number one on the list. It was Mudryk. Both signings are fringe players, but they'll add quality. I don't expect them to start, but they are quality players that fit Arteta's style of play. They're not expensive, so they're good purchases. On Kirio, he said, as soon as the opportunity arises, I think the manager will give him his debut. Once you sign, you want to be on the pitch as soon as possible. When you sign in the January transfer window, it's even more important because everyone in the squad has been together and you're playing catch-up. Facts. On the failed pursuit of Moses of Brighton, I think he would have been a backup to start, but one for the future. Young, energetic, understands the game, and very committed offensively and defensively. Might be one for the summer. He's done well at Brighton, but I think the fee for me is a bit too much. He's a good player, and he would fit in the Arsenal way. Can't disagree with that. Francis Cahigio was speaking about Martinelli, people. I was just purely reading this for my own just whatever. And I thought we might as well look at it, people. How did the Martinelli thing come about? He did not stand out in big leagues, and now he's one of the great cracks. Me and my work team had seen from an early age. The truth is that we accept in a sense that the boy could have signed for other clubs at the time, but those big clubs decided that he was not a potentially top footballer. Football's a funny old game of opinions. I decided and I made the decision to take it. Raul Sanye was there at the time, and I told him to sign him. We invested, I think it was about $6 million. He was a player from the Brazilian 4th division, and over time, it's been seen that those 6 more goals was a wise decision. Not sure what that means. Google Translate has probably done us there. We were very clear about it because the boy has an important work ethic, great conditions for the modern football. And again, work ethic. You know, when you look at actually Rafinha as well, you know, he struggled to become a professional footballer. Jorginho as well. And obviously Martinelli didn't really work out, and Gabriel Jesus. Sometimes this is something that makes you overperform or over exceeding expectations. Gabriel Jesus came into the game kind of late as well. The only thing that surprised me is that it took him a little while then I think they mean I thought to stand out. It's difficult to find players with that mentality. Fair enough, really and truly. Romano has said on Jorginho, I want to start with Arsenal. We know they wanted a central midfielder to help Mikel Arteta with squad depth in that position. They were considering Moses Caicedo as a top option. It's important to mention that on Jorginho, Mikel Arteta made the difference. He wanted Jorginho. He's a big fan of Jorginho. He's in love with his experience and how popular Jorginho is in the dressing room. All of these factors made Arsenal go for Jorginho as the best last-minute option. And characters in the dressing room as well, because if we scan over here quickly, people, you know, Thiago Silva has admitted, you know, they didn't expect Jorginho to leave, people. It was for a direct competitor, but these are football things. It happens. He wanted to stay in England because he has family here. There are things that we have no control over, but we have to understand the player side of things. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, especially as we have lost one of our great leaders in the dressing room. Jorginho is a guy who spoke a lot, and this hole will remain, but we have to move on. We didn't expect him to leave, but it has happened. We have to make up for his absence in the best possible way. So that shows you, on top of his footballing ability, people, what he can bring to the table as well. So yeah, man, you know, you're hearing his experience. We obviously know his experience. We obviously know his ability, but you know, you're hearing Mikel's in love with his experience. You know, you're hearing that, you know, Thiago Silva, who's been there, done it, wore the t-shirt in the game, talking about he's a big character. This can help our young squad and help our experienced players also convey a message, because now you've got Odegaard who opens his mouth, Granit Xhaka, Jorginho, and there's plenty of other players, people. There's many different leaders in that Arsenal side, you know, many different examples by leading and things like that. But I hope Jorginho is more of the Xhaka type, like you see in the All or Nothing. He's telling man fix up and things and whatnot. Although when you saw Odegaard with Sambi Lokonga, you know, it's a madness. Tomiyasu's had an exclusive interview, allegedly. Let's see what he has said, people. We understand more about Mikel's football. We've got depth. We've got some new players. But the biggest thing is we understand Mikel's football more than last season, which is great. He then went on to say, last season we understood, but we couldn't express it. But this season we understand, and we are showing how he wants us to play. This is the big difference. He then went on to say, Mikel knows about football. He knows about football structure. He knows everything. Our job is just to explain on the pitch what he says. I believe in him. He's just amazing. He's the best manager I've ever worked with. Great stuff. It's a bit like if you work in a work company. If you believe in the collective mantra that your organization is doing, if your manager's nice, you're going to overperform in terms of performance because your work ethic is going to be higher. So yeah, shout out to that. And I do like Tomiyasu, and I like him a lot. I like how he is as a person, and I'm a big fan of the Japanese culture and the way they look at things. You know, they're very humble and realistic and things like that. And there's not really, you know, it's almost everyone in life's got an ego, but it's like you've got to be able to put your individual ego behind for the collective. And you can see that with the way he speaks about his teammates. He said, you have to accept the reality. Ben White has been doing very well. He is fantastic. Of course, I want to play from the start. The only thing I can do is prove my value on the pitch and show what I can do. I just want to help the team. It doesn't matter if I'm playing from the start or not. When I'm on the pitch, I give everything. And that's what you want to hear from Tomiyasu. Big T. He said, when in relation to the Premier League, of course, to win the Premier League is the biggest dream for every player. But we've only played 19 games now, and it's too soon to speak about it. We have to go game by game, as Mikel says. Amen. We have to go for it. We'll go for it. We are focused. Big up Tomiyasu, people. I think he was then asked about who doesn't want to play in training. He said Gabriel Martinelli. He never stops. He has pace, aggression. He's still young, but when he has the ball, he wants to make the difference. He wants to do something. So with that being said, in relation to Kovacic, Hudson-Odoi, Tomiyasu, the sound piece of Martinelli, the bits and pieces with Jorginho, the man behind me. That's all I've got to say, people. Please let me know your opinions on everything we've discussed. Don't forget to hit the like button. Appreciate you lot for tuning in. Make sure you're checking out the other videos, because I'm sure there's been a couple of uploads today, and there will be as well before you lot can blink. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay in, progressing for your goals, and we'll link up again soon, people.
There's always just that active and defending.
I think it's like